Welcome back to Behind the Music with me and Madeline Kate. I forgot the name of the podcast at first. That's embarrassing. Anyways, today we're actually... Okay, so I've thrown everything out the window that I said. I was like, I'm going to do these in order. That's thrown out the window. I'm going to be taking requests and do those first. And then, as I release new music, do those. So today is our first request day. And one of my good friends and also one of my biggest fans of my music, Christina Sullivan, recommended on my Spotify Q&A section. So there is a section on my Spotify that I have opened up question and answers. So you can actually request a song there or ask any questions. And if you are listening from YouTube, you can comment suggestions and I'll see it and take them into account. Because I know, with my favorite songs, a lot of the time they are not, everybody's favorite. And I mean, not even, me, but, Taylor Swift, for example, or Dolly Parton. I want to hear more about my favorite, but they always talk about, the big public ones. So today, we are going to be talking about Resilient, the song. And I really do like that song. I kind of wish that instead of going this distorted hard rock we would have went, I wish we would have been a little bit less is more with that song, because the lyrics of that song I really like. And I think that it is a vulnerable song, even though it's talking about resiliency. Anyway, this is one of the first songs that I knew the title before I wrote it. I don't do that. Usually I will write a song and then find the title. That's the usual way that people do it. And same with naming an album. Usually people write all the songs and then name it. That's what I did with my mixtape, which the mixtape title is a line from the last track called Freedom. But I'm kind of weird. So I will get and I think it's from being a Taylor Swift fan, but I'm really obsessed with trying to figure things out, trying to figure life out, finding reasons for things. And I get obsessed with ideas and certain words and stuff like that. Maybe it's being a creative person, or maybe everybody does that, but I've just not noticed. But when I was writing the album Resilient, I was obsessed with the word resilient. I thought it was such a cool word. And that was that was in a time I was questioning everything about myself, which is really hard. And I hope whoever's listening never has to go through that. But odds are you will multiple times in your life. And I don't know, I was in this weird headspace. It was during the pandemic. I didn't really know who I was becoming. And I was stuck in this weird limbo world. But I became obsessed with the word resilient because I thought, I'm second guessing every single thing about myself. But one thing I'm not second guessing is I am resilient. And I loved how that word sounded. I loved how it looked. And I had written most of the album already. And I was like, this album needs to be named Resilient. That is the common theme, whether it's a love song or whether it's a song about, East Tennessee, my past. It's that has been a theme throughout my entire life. And it's something that I'm very proud of. Now, there is some backdraws to being resilient. You feel you always have to be that way and you can't ever have a breakdown or be vulnerable. I mean, I think I'm getting better at juggling that. When you bounce back all the time, people just expect you to keep bouncing back. So Taylor Swift, I'm going to reference her a lot. I'm sorry. She's everything to me. Actually, I'm not sorry. I'm tired of apologizing for loving things because you're boring if you hate things. Only don't love things. Anyway, she has a line in her song Labyrinth, and it's a love song, and she says, "You know how much I hate that everybody just expects me to bounce back, just like that." And to me, that's really relatable. That is the downside of resiliency. But anyway, I will get into the song more. So this is actually one of the few songs, again, like I did last week, where I wrote a version first and then rewrote it. Now, I don't usually do that because if I'm feeling something and I'm like writing a song, it comes to me and all the words are out there. But I've noticed like the farther I get in my songwriting journey, the more I do that. And I think it's because I'm getting better as a writer. And I go, oh, I know that's not my best. I know I can do it better. I'm going to come back to that. And for Resilient, I really wanted the lyrics to speak for themselves. And I wanted it to say, you know, when I introduce myself to people, if they say describe yourself in one word, this is the word that it would be, and here's why. And I don't even remember a lot of the first version of it. I think that there was one line that I ended up taking out that I actually really liked. And I think it was something like, I've got a country soul and a rock and roll heart. My small town reputation will never part. And I actually really like that line. So don't steal it because I might use it. And I can show in a court of law with this recording that's out that I did own the copyright to that. So don't anybody steal it. Like all, 24 of you that listen, which I'm very grateful for. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Anyway, so I rewrote this song and it became a song that I loved, and I played it at a mental health writers showcase night where we raised money for like mental health rehabilitation, and people really liked it there. And I've realized how special of a song it is, and I think that it really was a good ender for that album. It gives you a little bit of hope after all the heartache, and I really think that's important. I actually remember being a teenager and loving Taylor Swift's album Red because of that. She goes through all this devastating heartbreak, and we actually found out, even though that's been over 10 years ago now, that she went through more than we even thought with her, like when she re-recorded and she released newer songs we hadn't heard. She had went through a lot, but she ends that album with Begin Again, which is a really hopeful song, and I really clung to that just in my teenage years. And I think that subconsciously I tried to do the same with this album because it is my saddest piece of work. And I can say that because I'm almost done with my next piece of work. But we'll get into that near the end. That'll be a surprise. So, Resilient. I literally started it with a question. Each verse starts with a question, which can be annoying. But the things that you learn in high school and college where you're writing a paper and like it kind of like gets interest. So I said, who am I? I tried to write this song like I was having a conversation with somebody that did not know me, didn't know anything about me. You meet a stranger on the street and tell your whole life story, which a lot of people do to me. And I feel like my dad might do that to a lot of people. But me and him are the same in that way. But I had just basically imagined this scenario that I get to talk to somebody, whether like, it could be like in a dream where like a guardian angel visits you and they're like, who are you? And I don't know, or just a stranger on the street. Like, what do you want people to know? So that's why I kind of started with a question, like I'm repeating a question. That kind of is complicated, but I think you'll know what I mean. And then I say, oh, if only you knew. Kind of like an exasperated thing, but also like I'm kind of a cool person. And I actually really love the next line. I think that it's my favorite line in this song because it's I've grown up with a bleeding heart. And that bleeding heart is often used as an insult, but for like caring too much, being too empathetic, being too dramatic, like it's like a political leaning a lot of times. But it is like something I'm proud of because I think that This world tries to desensitize you, and I am a little bit. It's hard not to be, but I try to keep that heart and be sensitive and care about people. So, like, I've grown up with a bleeding heart. Like, the more I grow up, the more my heart bleeds, but I don't see that as a bad thing. You can love parts of yourself that other people don't, and I think that you should. The next line is also very true. It's, I can't be stopped once I start. And that is something, I mean, sometimes it can be unhealthy for me, but that's a lesson that I've learned in the past few years on how to rest. But it's often seen as a good thing. I am very hardworking. But the most important thing about me you should know is I'm resilient, a hardworking woman. That kind of, for some reason, when I sing that part, I want to sing it like in a country accent, and I think of like Reba's like Survivor song from her TV show. I'm a survivor. I don't know why. Okay. A little bit of my country roots slips in sometimes. I don't let much time pass me by. I am resilient, 1 in a billion. I'll take my little wings and make them fly. I also love that line. This sounds really narcissistic, but you know, I wrote these songs. These songs are my babies, and I appreciate a good line every once in a while. And then I'm like, I'm resilient. Woo! That's the chorus. It's one of my simpler chorus, but I don't think I need a complicated chorus for this song. And then again, it's like I'm having a conversation. It's like, where do I start? I put everything into my art. And I do. I mean, I don't, maybe you're listening for the first time and you have no idea what I do, but I write all my own songs. Most of my songs, there are no co-writers, and the few that are, I mean, there's some going to be coming out that, like, we, like, sat down and wrote, me and a friend sat down and wrote them together. But so far, like, the ones I've released in the past with my buddy Ace Koontz, it's like, I've pretty much already written the song, and I say, I want to tweak this line, like, how should I do that? Or, I want to say this, and I need some help phrasing it. So, like, I've already written most of the song. I write my own songs. I produce them in my bedroom myself, which a lot of people are like, you can tell. Yeah, but I'm learning, and I value having total creative control over my art. Like, that's something that nobody can ever take away from me, and I hope if I can inspire one person to start doing it and learning it on their own, that's awesome. And that's why my catalog is always going to stay out, because even though, like, sometimes I look back on my first mixtape and I cringe for the production, I like having that as like a reference. And I am a firm believer that if you have a good song, and like, I'm a lyrics person myself, like, when I listen to music, I listen mostly for the words. So I believe that if I attract other people like that to me, that they are going to like the song regardless if the production's not A+, $1 million, that kind of thing. Because I used to listen to, when I was like in junior high, I would look up really, really rough versions of Taylor Swift songs that were unreleased, and I would listen to them and sing them with my whole chest. Like, it'd be like her performing at one time in a bar and the camera's in the back and like you can't even see her or even hear what's going on. That's what I would listen to. So I believe my people are out there, like my fans are out there, and I'm getting better and I'm really enjoying it. But because of that, like, I put a lot of work into this. It's something that I've always wanted to do, and I did not know how it was going to happen. And I believe in myself, and I think everybody should. But I quite literally put everything into it. I put basically my diary on display for people by myself with no label backing, like not a lot of money. Definitely not a lot of money before now. But I feel like I've put my heart and soul into it. So one line is really hard to say all that. That's why I really like and valuing doing this podcast, because it's really fun for me to kind of explain more. And I say I've gotten some trouble because life's outside your comfort bubble. But my small town reputation will never part. So it's like a kind of a double-edged sword here. I say, like, because I firmly believe this, I think that if you try to go outside your comfort bubble and you try to grow, you're going to get some pushback, because that's life. And if you're not getting some pushback, you're not doing what you need to do to get out of your comfort zone. And I finished that up with saying my small town reputation will never part, because even though I've not really lived in a small town now in almost 8 years, I feel when you grow up in a small town, some of that is still always in you, and you kind of feel weird living in a city. It's really hard to explain if you didn't grow up in a small town, but it's like, I'm basically saying, like, the good parts of living in a small town will always be inside of me, like being friendly to people, like nobody's a stranger. That's something that I really value from growing up where I grew up, that there are no strangers, and even if they are a stranger, you talk to them like they're not. That kind of thing, like kind of like slowing down and enjoying like the simpler things in life. That's something I also love to do. So it's like, even no matter how far out of my comfort bubble I get, no matter where I go, my small town reputation will never leave me. And I think that's why Dolly Parton's been so successful. Not comparing me to her. I'm not doing that. But like, the thing that makes Dolly so great is she is literally a freaking legend. Like, she is so talented. She does so much for the world constantly. And even though that she's been a superstar for like 50 years, she still acts like that girl that grew up in the Smoky Mountains. And I love that. Like, I just got chills talking about it, thinking about it. And then it's the chorus again, which we've already went over that. It's the same. And in the bridge, I wrote it for me. That's the thing about songwriting, is there are some people that write for other people to hear. And then there's those of us like me that sometimes if I write like an uplifting song like this, I write it for me to hear. I write it for me to sing and to try to get it in my mind. And that's what this bridge is. And there are days where we all have our doubts. So turn that frown upside down. Yes, there's a little bit of positive. Good Lord, I cannot speak today, and most of it will be edited out because it's just bad. But I've not talked to anybody today. Like, it's my off day. I got up and I just like laid in bed for 2 hours. And I mean, I look good right now. Like, I showered and stuff, and I'm gonna like go out and have a picnic with my dogs and walk. That was way too much information. But because of that, I'm like not speaking correctly, and I'm like acting like I have all this energy because I'm an extrovert, and even just talking out loud helps, even if there's nobody there. Well, my dog is here. One's in the bedroom and one's on the couch, and they're both asleep. But anyway, I meant to say, that was a long tangent. I'm so sorry. If that annoys you, I try to keep it limited on this, but that's just who I am as a person. Anyway, turn that frown upside down. It can be toxic positivity. I agree. And that's not always like good to say to somebody that's struggling. But for me personally, sometimes if I'm going through something hard, I have to remind myself that it's not forever, and that once I get through it, I'm going to be so happy. I'm going to be so happy, and things are going to work out, and I just don't see the final chapter yet of that book or the final episode of that season. Like, I'm just not seeing it yet. So it's like, you're going to get where you're going. This is just the journey, the climb, like Miley Cyrus says. So turn that frown upside down, because the dreams are on their way that you've worked so hard to chase, and you don't want to quit now. That's to myself. I'm like, girl, you work. This is me talking to past me, but you work so hard. And right now, you're not seeing the fruits of your fruition. But take a second and breathe, because you know you will. Like, your time is going to come. And that was a big lesson that I had to learn. And I think that's why I went through such a hard time personally, because I had to learn some of these hard lessons, and I am stubborn. So the higher power was like, girl, I'm going to kick your butt to the floor, but I'm also going to make sure that you can stay in Nashville by giving you a retail job during the pandemic where you're not like laid off. And you are going to struggle so much, but you're going to learn some hard, important lessons that you haven't learned and you refuse to learn, because it's always, your hard work is always shown. And this time it's not going to show for a while, but it will show eventually. So don't quit. Don't just give it up and go home. Like, you've got this, and you know deep down that you've got this. And then the last chorus, I change it to talking to somebody else, because I figure if I need to hear it, maybe somebody else does too. So I change it to, you are resilient, a hardworking person, because while most of my audience is women around my age, hey y'all, love y'all, there are some people that don't fit into the like woman category. So it's like, oh, you're a hardworking person. It was an easy change, so I just did it. You don't let much time pass you by. Like, you're resilient and I'm resilient. We got this. And then the last line, which is kind of like something that I've realized that I do sometimes that's very Taylor Swifty, like her early catalog. I end it how I started it, and I say, who am I? If only you knew. Like, saying like, oh, now you kind of know who I am, but like, oh, we're going to make it a little dramatic and say, oh, if only you knew. And yeah, that wraps up that song. I think if you relate to that song, one, I'm proud of you, and two, I'm sorry. But you're a badass. If you like that song, you're a badass. So take that as a compliment. You're a really hard worker. And I know the person that requested the song, Christina. Sorry if you don't want your name for everybody, but oh well. You are a badass girl, and you are a hard worker, and you are going to continue to kill it in grad school and physical therapy. And yes, I will give you a shout out if you interact with my stuff, because you're extra awesome. Like, anybody that listens to these or my music, you're awesome. But if you interact, you're a freaking superstar, because you don't understand how much that helps. So I hope everybody has a good day. And I think originally I thought I'd get like into the whole album when I did Resilient, but I think it's better just to do it song by song, because it kind of explains itself. And yeah, I feel pretty freaking resilient today. Oh, I promised if you got to the end of the episode, I'd tell you some exciting news. So, life update. Speaking of that hard time in my life, I have an awesome job right now that I love. And even though my mother is like, you finally have a job that you love, and now it's going to be banned. But I get it. I don't even know if she's listened to these. If not, or if so, hi, Mom. If not, girl, listen to my stuff. No, I'm kidding. But I have to be kind of careful, but I work for a really cool short form video app in their operations and safety department. I'm trying to like come up with a clue that doesn't just me saying I work for TikTok, okay? And I'm allowed to like say I work for them. I can't get too much into it, but yeah, it's an awesome job. I love it. It has a lot of my interest in it, and it's cool. And they treat their employees really well, unlike some places I've worked. Anyway, yes, that's life update. The other life update is I got a new tattoo. And some people are like, no one cares. I care because my tattoo is a big, big hint to what my next album will be called. So yeah, go to my Instagram and look. I hope I've posted it on there by now. I don't know. I've been really, really bad about posting. Like, I even have this podcast out, and I like post like once a week, like, here it is, it's out. It's like, I don't know. I think my brain's just like, I just want to do all the creative stuff, and I don't know. But I need to post more. It's just hard because it's like I value my privacy in life now, unlike I did like a few years ago. So it's like I just like to like live and not like live for social media. But I also love social media, and I also work in social media. Maybe that's why I don't want to post, is because I love it and I work in it. So like 40 hours a week is up, and I'm like, I'm not doing this. But the news that I promised is there's a new single coming out. I think April 21st. I'm going to start promoting it like a lot more in a couple weeks. But it is a whole new direction. Now, I've barely even talked about it, but I do love the song. If you've listened to Love Goes On, that I released in November on my wedding day, then it's like not going to be like a total directional surprise. But I released that like for personal reasons and not really promotional reasons. I mean, all these songs are personal to me, but you know what I'm saying. But oh my gosh, I got so scared. I might leave that in so that like people know. I feel like I'm at the Oscars and they just like tried to play me off the stage. So I'll take the universal hint. I basically started this file in my last episode so I could just lazily have the music already in it. Anyway, I'll get to the point because I think that was my sign. This is like a more folk pop instead of folk rock. I hear different types of music in different periods of my life. Like Resilient, for example, the album is a little bit dark for me, and it has like a lot of grunge and rock influence and moodiness. So to me, that period of my life is going to sound different than this period of my life where things are a lot more calm and I've figured a lot of stuff out and I'm happier. And so this is going to be a little bit of a change. It's airier. It's a different theme. It's still me. I think you all get what I'm saying, but it's more folk pop, more little singer-songwritery. And I think what I'm doing to separate that next album from the last one is I am releasing a single called Rose Colored Glasses, April 21st. And it won't be just like so random, because the song is like, I'm tired of my life being this way. So I'm going to purposely put on rose colored glasses and gaslight myself into thinking that life is great and I can do whatever I want, and I'm going to look at life differently, and I'm going to change my life by doing that. So it's the opposite of like, usually rose colored glasses, people are a little bit more, I didn't notice the red flags, because when you have rose colored glasses on, every flag looks like it's red. It's more like, I am tired of seeing the truth. I'm tired of being cynical. So baby, I'm putting on my rose colored glasses. I can't stand this anymore. And actually my dad and I had this conversation because I'm like, I have this song I really like called Rose Colored Glasses, and I think it's different. And he's like, you think it's different? Maddie, so many people have written about rose colored glasses. I said, yeah, my parents keep it real with me, okay? I said, Dad, I know. I'm saying I'm willingly putting them on my face. I'm also hoping to make a music video, but don't hold me to that. I have ideas, but like it's one of those things that I also have no budget. So I'm like, I don't want to put like something out there. Like I want it to be a little bit campy, but like I don't want to like put something out there that's just like horrible, So I think it'll be fun though. But yeah, that's my new direction, and that's my news. And it's exciting. I'm excited because these songs that I've written, which I feel this way every time, but I feel like they're different and I really love them. And I think instead of being about, like, it all has one common theme, but not as much as Resilient. And it's a little bit more timeless than Resilient. And I'm really excited. And it's like a bunch of different topics. There's a breakup song on there. And if you know me, you're like, a breakup song? I'm married. I'm happily married. Thank you. I know a lot of people can't really say that. I got married in November. I've been with my husband for almost 6 years now. Like, we've been very happy through those 6 years. So, and like, my last like official breakup was 7 years ago, somewhere around there. So like, it's been a while and you're like, a breakup song, but this is what's fun. So if you don't know a lot about me, I love breakup songs. Like, I love breakup songs. I went through my breakup with my high school boyfriend, and I love breakup songs so much that my dad was like, well, this kind of sucks for you, but now you can relate to breakup songs. And it actually made me feel better. Like, I love them. So yeah, I have a breakup song on there that is like, I guess we'll get into it more when it's episode or when it actually comes out. Like, it's not even out yet and I'm talking about it, but it's like a fun one. It's like you can definitely tell I grew up listening to like the Dixie Chicks or the Chicks and Miranda Lambert and a little Taylor Swift and Carrie Underwood. And like, you can tell like it has that like I Hate You vibe, and those are so much fun. Like, it's not really a breakup song that I'm like releasing to be like, oh, you broke my heart and I'm not over it, even though it's been like half a lifetime ago and I'm like happily married. No, it's like, ooh, I wanted to write a breakup song like for fun because it's been a long time, just to prove I could do it, you know? And I just wanted something different. A lot of people can relate to breakup songs because it's a human experience. But yeah, I'm excited to step into the new, and I hope that you like the new, and I hope you like the old, and I'm just happy you're here. So, peace, love, happiness. If you are in your Resilient era, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, but you'll get out of it. And because you're resilient, hell yeah. But goodbye, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.